Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a Screenwriter's Rant on Titans Season 3 from HBO Max. I have not seen 1 or 2, but I am very familiar with the Teen Titans, so I feel okay to speak upon it. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my books. Links in the description. We have Woke, a standard novel, Hollywoke, another novel, political satire, and of course the Pineys, books 1 through 6, book 7 coming out this month, comedy, horror in South Jersey. And I'll be doing a signing tomorrow at the Sunrose Bookstore. I know you're sick of hearing about that. July 15th from 10 to noon. Stop on by if you can get a signed book. I will be promoting exclusively the Pineys, and I believe I will have free Jersey Devil comics to anyone who purchases while supplies last, I'll say. All right. So, and check us out on Bitchute and Rumble because we have another 2 videos, right, Joan? 2 videos. Okay. Here's the deal with the Teen Titans. It was a very popular comic in the 80s. I guess it was the 80s. Because George Perez was doing the art, and I forget who was writing it at the time, but the stories, might have even been George, but the stories were good. The stories were really good. It was very epic, and it was DC's attempt to create their own version of the X-Men, because they didn't have a version of the X-Men. And they've launched many different versions of Teen Titans on television. There's, of course, the Teen Titans cartoon, which started out, I thought, okay. It was a more modern take on the Titans because it wasn't Dick Grayson as Robin. It was the current Robin. I guess who's the current Robin? It's not Dick, is it? It's somebody else, I think. And they had like a nice little balance going, but the cartoon wasn't very popular because a cartoon like that requires a bit of a build-up. And this is, again, another not Batman show. It's not about Batman. Batman's mentioned. I think Batman's even in it, but it's a not Batman show. It's got some of the Batman villains, some of the Batman sidekicks, and, it's basically another version of Gotham, in my view. But the Titans were the sidekicks and the next sort of generation of superheroes. But there were new guys too, and I don't see any of the newer guys in this. It was they sort of like skimmed the top of the Teen Titans roster and put them in there. So is it good? The way superheroes have gone woke again and again and again, I haven't heard anything great about it. It's probably as watchable as, say, the CW, but that's not saying much because the CW shows were okay. CW shows to me were shows you could watch and they'd be perfectly fine, or you could walk out literally in the middle of the show with no, investment in it whatsoever, and you'd be totally fine with that if you never saw the end of the episode. And that's the problem. In order to be invested in a series like the Teen Titans, you have to kind of know the background, and that's why it was popular in the comics. We had this great background. Nightwing, well, first it was Robin, then it was Nightwing was the leader. And he was the successor of Batman. He was Dick Grayson. And then they added Starfire, who was his girlfriend, this super hot alien chick, who they've sort of replaced. She's not very alien in the show, I don't think. I don't know, I haven't seen it. She doesn't look all that much of an alien. Like, the whole point in the comic was she had bright orange skin. I mean, she looked like an alien. She didn't look human at all, and she had like weird sort of cat eyes. They essentially just use an actress and then like change her eyes whenever they need to. Then you had Changeling, who was the Joker of the group, and he had bright green skin, and so in this he doesn't quite have green skin. It's like, you gonna do it or not? And they're trying to make it dark, which does not work for the Teen Titans. There were dark moments in the comic, but really, when you have this brand, right? So the Teen Titans at first wasn't dark. It was a straight up superhero thing. I thought it was solid. Then they moved into the wacky Teen Titans era where it was almost like half anime and it was very wacky and it was aimed at kids. And that was fine. It was funny. I didn't really watch it. It wasn't aimed at me. Then we moved into the live action version and it's oh so serious. And it's all based on old stories that comic fans have seen a million times. You got the Red Hood, you got Jason Todd getting killed, and on and on and on and on. And it's like, so it doesn't appeal to the old fans. Why use the stories? Why even bother? Why not just tell new stories? At least you wouldn't be saddled with what happened in the comic. At least you wouldn't have new people coming in going, oh, is this what happened in the comic? And the old people going, no. No, that's not what happened at all. At least when people went to buy the comics, they could say, oh, this is cool stories too. Or instead of, oh, this isn't what happened. This is much cooler than what happened on the TV show. They have no idea what they're doing, is what it boils down to. DC has always been the second fiddle. The guys who always seem to go, hey, that looks popular. Let's do that. And they do that like 5 years after it's popular, right? So you look at the DC movie arc. They could have done the one time they could have done the same exact thing Marvel did. They could have just built a team, built the Justice League over the course of 5 movies, and boom, you would have had a great build up to a probably halfway decent movie, right? No, they couldn't do that. Instead, they did it ass backwards. They gave you Superman and Batman, and then sort of jammed everybody else in. Right? Nobody really remembers Wonder Woman. They sort of do. She had a TV show. Certainly not Aquaman. I mean, it was only because they had Jason Momoa that they could even attempt it. And The Flash, he's never been that popular. I hate to break it to you, comic fans. The Flash has never been that popular. He's only been popular way back in the day, like in the 60s and 70s. He was pretty popular in comics, but never as like a TV thing at all. He never really had his own cartoon. It was all Superman and Batman, mostly Superman. Even in the Super Friends, they didn't even put the Flash in. They put the Flash in. He was an also ran. It was Superman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then Wendy and Marvin. I mean, does that tell you? I mean, that they added characters because they wouldn't even put the characters that they had in the damn show? It tells you something. But this is an ongoing thing. Hollywood doesn't understand comics, and now that comics are part of Hollywood, it doesn't understand itself. What you would need from a Teen Titans show is a really good soap opera, essentially. And you would need a solid continuity, so when these characters got together, people go, ooh, this is exciting, because I've seen these characters in Batman TV series or Aquaman movie or whatever. Now they're coming together to show me something different week to week. That would be exciting, because none of these characters or people have been established in other movies and projects. They have to stand on their own, and they really kind of don't. They just kind of don't. Everybody is an also ran, right? Cyborg. Is Cyborg in this? I don't think he is. I didn't see him. I mean, they got Hawk and Dove. Hawk and Dove, such throwaway characters. They came out, I don't even remember, I want to say late 80s. They were never even popular, and they kind of fell apart during the Armageddon thing. I mean, what are you doing, DC? What are you doing? Here's what you need to do. And now it's too late, but I'll tell you what you need to do anyway. You needed to start a Teen Titans show, starting with Robin, right? And then he meets each individual character, and you have an episode dedicated to each character, and then they build the team based on some premise about Gotham being overrun or Batman being out of town or whatever. I mean, this whole idea that Batman's falling apart, bad premise. Bad premise. They should have just moved him out to L.A. and put him there, and then you could have shot in your backyard and not have to worry about it. I mean, you got to think outside the box a little. If you wanted to do an X-Men franchise, this is not the way to do it. Okay? And you heard a line in the trailer like, oh, this is about family. We don't mess around when it's about family. These characters all had family of their own. They all had family of their own. Now, if you want to make them all like disparate losers who had to come together in some kind of vigilante gang, I guess. But, I mean, it's kind of cool they're using Nightwing, but again, Nightwing is he's always a second stringer compared to Batman. He was only interesting because Batman taught him. Batman taught him everything. He was like the cool Batman. A fun show would be Batman retires and Dick Grayson as Batman. That would be a fun show. That would be a fun, great show. Another fun show could be the Teen Titans as older characters down the road a little bit, superheroes in their own regard, and they get back together for something that happens down the road and Batman's long gone. I mean, to put Batman in the show, you're already diminishing your main characters. Because no, everybody wants to see Batman. I keep telling you, DC, everybody wants to see Batman. Show Batman, have him have a show. Stop doing not Batman. Stop doing not Batman. Let me rattle off all the shows now that we have. First, we have Gotham, not Batman show. Pre-Batman, Batman still trying to figure things out. Bruce Wayne still trying to figure out. Not Batman. Joker. Yep, it's a not Batman movie. It's a good not Batman movie, but nonetheless, it's not Batman. Batman's not really in it. It's the origin of Batman, sort of, but not really. Then you got, they had a Pennyworth season of Pennyworth about the butler, about Alfred. Are you effing kidding me? I mean, you want to talk about, like, they just sat in a meeting and split up all the trademarks and said, make a show about this. Yeah, who doesn't want to see a show about a action butler? It's so stupid. Now you got Teen Titans, not Batman. I know there's more. Oh, no, we did Gotham. You have a Batwoman, another not Batman show, a horrible not Batman show in my view. And you've got that show which looks very similar to this, which is bad. The show needed a new look. And if you're going to do a superhero thing, it all needs a new look, right? You got to give it its own distinct look. One thing would have been to make this sharp, make it well lit instead of this dark, brooding thing. How do you have dark, brooding things when you have these ridiculous costumes that the characters wear? That works in comics, but it doesn't work in live action. It just doesn't work unless the costume's redesigned to be black too. And that's been done so many times, it's boring. If you read the old comics, these guys were in brightly lit rooms all the time. Yeah, Nightwing had a dark costume, but everybody else had a nice costume, a lightly colored costume. And, and then the endless amount of cartoons. And you had the Harley Quinn stuff, right? The Suicide Squad. The Harley Quinn movie, the other Suicide Squad movie, also not Batman. You've got the Harley Quinn cartoon. Stop trying to make Harley Quinn a thing. The real way to do this would have been to get all the actors on board to appear in each other's thing and to actually make it good and have a consistent universe. There's not that many of these projects that you couldn't have a relatively consistent universe. But no, you don't. And it suffers from the same problem that the comics had. The moment the editorial dropped the ball and ruined their world is the moment fans started tuning out. Because the whole point is to have this world in which you would read the opposite comics, and with the editors out to lunch, not bothering to have any kind of continuity at all because they're too lazy and they're not paid enough, or DC just doesn't care, nobody sees those little details. That was the beauty of reading the comics. You used to read it and say, oh, in Batman number 302, this is a reference to that. And you'd go about, wow, I have to go get that issue. And you'd go and you'd pick it up and say, oh, this all makes sense now. No, you don't see any of that here. You just see yet another show that's trying to show what big balls it has to tell a story. And it doesn't have any. This is superheroes. They're dressed ridiculously. And are the actors strong enough to pull it off on their own? I don't know. I'm not even going to watch this thing. I got HBO Max for nothing, and I have zero interest. And I'm a comic book guy. I'm the comic book guy, and I can see from this, it's just a bunch of hokum. It's just a bunch of near misses designed to get me sucked in. So I'll just start watching it because I won't find anything out unless I get to the end, and they're constantly teasing me. Oh, we'll see you next season. No, we need actual stories that resolve and that are good. but you don't have them here. Because if you're going to follow the comics, follow them. And if you're not, then don't use the comics at all. You're just pissing everybody off. Have you got it through your thick Hollywood skulls yet? No, of course not. Because no one's watching this stuff. There's just so much content out there. There's just so much stuff. They just blurt it all out and hope somebody watches it somewhere. And people watch stuff because why? Because they're bored. Because they need some voice in the room while they're doing stuff. They don't watch it for the story because there's no story here. There's hardly any story here. I could tell just by the damn trailer. We need a good story, okay? And if you're relying on the Titan story to be, about Batman, then you've already dropped the ball. The Titans had its own thing going. It had a whole milieu of things going on with it. Where is it here? Sorry, don't say it. So, sorry to rant about the Titans, but I get very, very upset about comic book stuff. Right, Joan? Yeah. Anyhow, that's it for me and Joan today. We'll see you tomorrow.